Emily, you're not talking, are you? I can't hear anything. Can you try talking?
It's live.
You all hear me?
Yep, you're good, Imani.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, great.
Weird.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us today for another Hub 101. My name is Imani Moore, and I'm the engagement coordinator for the Austin Community Hub. I want to go ahead and start by introducing a little bit about who we are and what we do. The Austin Community Hub was designed to be a dedicated space where we can engage with the members of our community. So we're here to serve as a connection between Austin residents and all the services that are offered by ACT's network of partner organizations, such as childcare, job training, youth programs, legal assistance, and much more. Each of our Hub 101s gives you all an opportunity to get to know our different partners, get live answers to your questions. The Hub 101s take place twice a month on Zoom and Facebook Live. Today, we are joined by our special guest. We are joined by Anna Lee. the partnerships lead with Empower Works, and she's here to talk to us all about the great work that they do. After the presentation, we'll end with a Q&A session. So feel free to drop your questions if you have any in the Q&A box on Zoom. And then you can drop them in the chat if you're watching on Facebook Live. And I hope you're able to walk away with some great information today. And with no further ado, Anna, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Imani. Uh, well, hello from San Francisco. I appreciate the community in Chicago joining in on your lunch break. I'm gonna share my screen here and we'll get going. Can everyone see that okay? All right, great. Well, as Imani mentioned, my name is Anna Lee. I lead partnerships at Empower Work, and I'll be sharing a little bit about our organization today, and hopefully you can walk away with just one additional resource to offer to your communities. As you all know, this is a really tough job market. We did some research at Empower Work and found that 4 out of 5 workers are actively looking for work because they're either unemployed, underemployed, or simply dissatisfied with where they are. Long story short, people want to make moves in their career, but it's hard out there. Finding a job is taking way longer than expected. And even when people do land their dream job, sometimes it's just not what they had expected. So I'm going to start by telling you a quick story about a woman named Michelle. So Michelle thought she was making a really exciting career change. She decided to go for a new role at a new company in a completely new industry. And she thought it'd be a great fit. She even had a friend there who spoke highly of the workplace. But once Michelle started, she realized it was a really toxic and unsafe place to work. Every week, junior salespeople at our company, including Michelle, were forced to pitch their CEO. And that in itself is intimidating and stressful. But to make it worse, at the end of each week, the teammate with the weakest pitch ended up getting fired. On top of that, the friend who had initially recommended this place ended up not being who Michelle thought she was, and she basically turned on her. Michelle ended up feeling completely alone and trapped. And like any normal human being in a situation like this, she got caught up in cycles of worrying. How will this look on my resume? How will I talk about it to recruiters? And then she remembered an old mentor of hers telling her about Empower Work. So Michelle snuck away from her coworkers, got on her phone, and texted into our helpline. Michelle got connected to a peer counselor who started off by helping her sort out her feelings. They talked through what she was experiencing, and as they texted, Michelle felt her breath slowly starting to slow down, and so did her heart rate. And she felt safe for the first time in a really long time. Once her emotions calmed down a bit, she and her peer counselor were able to talk through how to go about job searching without quitting, how to deal with her current environment, and create healthy boundaries for herself in order to be able to make it until her next step. And after the conversation, all via text message, Michelle followed the action plan that she and her counselor came up with together to focus on getting another job. This time, Michelle knew exactly what to look for in terms of culture, so she wouldn't land in the same situation again. And she started a new job where she was immediately a happier person. Now, I share this story because, one, I think it helps illustrate how our service works, but also because 2 years after Michelle reached out to us as a help seeker, she found so much value in her experience that she wanted to pay it forward, and she actually became a volunteer peer counselor herself. 40 million Americans feel like they have nowhere to turn to navigate a work crisis. And this is where we come in. At Empower Work, we believe that a single conversation can change a life. That's why we're on a mission to create healthy, equitable workplaces where people are valued, supported, and empowered one chat at a time. Empower Work is the only helpline specifically dedicated to helping you navigate work issues. We provide free, immediate, and completely confidential work support at your fingertips. The first way to connect is through our live web chat. Help seekers can go to empowerwork.org and simply start a conversation by typing Aspire in the chat box. Immediately, usually within a minute or two, you'll get connected to a peer counselor. The second, and actually the most preferred way of getting help, is by texting on your phone. You can simply text the Empower Work phone number listed here, 510-674-1414. And just like the web chat, you'll get connected to a peer counselor. Now, when can you reach out to us? In Chicago, you can reach out to us Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Now, who are our peer counselors? Peer counselors are essentially volunteers who just want to help make a difference in the world. They represent a diverse background in terms of industries, seniority levels, and work experience. Peer counselors go through robust training to be able to meet you where you are, regardless of what you're facing at work or trying to get work. Each volunteer completes over 30 hours of training focused on active listening, workplace issues, and text-based support. Help seekers reach out to our line for a multitude of reasons. Job search, taking forever while bills are piling up. Maybe they're balancing work and family and school, and they just feel overwhelmed. Maybe they're employed and they're dealing with bullying or harassment at work, bad coworkers, or a toxic boss. Or maybe they were paid unequally, or their work hours were cut without a reasonable explanation. What we do know so far about our texters is that people want immediate, confidential support. They want to be able to talk to a human within a couple of minutes when they need that help. And they don't want to have to go through their employer. They don't want to have to disclose personal information. They just want to talk it out with somebody. They prefer text messaging. A lot of our help seekers reach out to us on the go. They find themselves in the bathroom at work or on the bus or subway, and they find that little quiet moment where they can get clarity on the work situation that they're dealing with. Looking at our data, people seem to reach out to us midweek, around mid-morning. That tends to be our busiest time. And a big thing with Empower Work is trust. They don't want to share what they're going through with their employers. Maybe they feel like going to HR isn't a safe or trustworthy avenue. So they want to talk to somebody who is experienced, who is trained to help them deal with these things, but not necessarily tied with an organization that they're a part of. Here's a quick quote about a recent help seeker back in July over the summer. It says, "My peer counselor was a great listener, asked good questions, and genuinely surprised me with what they had to say. They struck a great balance between respectful and informal, which is very hard to do. The resulting conversation was refreshingly human in this age of AI everything and helped me get out of my head. I'm honestly so grateful." So, quick call to action. Use Empower Work for yourself or recommend to people in your community, coworkers, friends, family members, if they're struggling in their current job, if they're searching for a new job, maybe they're feeling stuck at work. Maybe they've been trying to get promoted, but it hasn't been happening for them. Maybe they're afraid, especially in today's market, of losing their job. Or a lot of people, especially like Michelle in our story earlier, face imposter syndrome. They feel like, am I actually worthy? Am I actually cut out for this job, for this career, for this industry? My last slide here is a QR code, as you can see. And I'm hoping that people on the call will take out their phone, actually have an interactive moment here, open your camera, and scan the QR code on my screen. You'll see that there's a purple button that says Download vCard. When you hit that button and create a new contact and hit done. Within a few clicks, you'll save the Empower Work phone number in your phone. You may not need to speak to a peer counselor today at this moment, but unfortunately, dealing with difficult workplace situations is a universal experience. So what we want to do is to at least be saved in your phone and in your back pocket for when you do have to reach out. That's it for my presentation today. I appreciate everybody joining in. I really hope that you take a moment to save our phone number in your phone, and I'll hand it over to Clara for Q&A.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, and great presentation. We'll go ahead, like Ann said, and move into the Q&A portion of the event. So please, if you're watching, don't hesitate to drop your questions in the chat box. And we'll go ahead and get into the first question. And that is, can I use the text line if I'm unemployed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, about 50% of help seekers currently who reach out to the Empower Work helpline are unemployed. They're throughout the entire journey of looking for their next move. Maybe they were recently fired, maybe they've been interviewing and applying for a year and it's not working out. And what's cool about the Empower Work helpline, as I mentioned before, it's a completely free service. We're a national nonprofit and we're available nationwide. And people reach out to us throughout various moments of their journey. So we have people who reach out when they're searching for a job. The same people will reach out again when they're preparing for an interview. They'll reach out again when they're negotiating a salary, and again when they're actually in the job. So it's really amazing to see sort of that continuity and the fact that people trust us enough as a resource to be able to reach in at many milestones along their career journey.
Great, great. That actually leads me into the next question. And that is, if I use the text line multiple times, will I get the same counselor every time, or will it be a different person?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our peer counselors volunteer typically with 2-hour shifts, and they're able to sign up when they're available. Now, we have definitely had help seekers who have had incredible conversations with their peer counselors, and they have actually asked them when their next shift is so that they can continue the conversation then. As I mentioned before, we are completely confidential, so we will never ask help seekers for their personal information. And it's double blind actually. So the peer count or the help seekers have no idea who their peer counselors are in terms of their name, their real name, their identity, but they can schedule via helpline, sort of informally like that. So people do like that continuity, especially if they find a peer counselor that they really seem to vibe with, and they can sort of coordinate that on their own.
It's great to know. Um, can I call the number instead of texting? $1 million question.
That's a great question. We currently don't offer phone calls. It's all via live chat or text messaging. We actually did some research on this, and we found that when it's in writing, you have sort of a log, a record of your conversation. And so people really like that sort of familiarity. Oftentimes, especially with younger generations, texting is way more comfortable than picking up the phone and cold calling. And so not only is that just a little bit more native and natural, but people like to they like to scroll back and look at the conversation, reread some of the things that they discussed with their peer counselor, and they automatically have a report essentially of their action plan. We sometimes people describe Empower Work as the work therapy helpline. And yes, our peer counselors are trained to listen and have that sort of counselor, therapist, empathetic stance in terms of listening. But it doesn't just stop there. Our main thing is how do we help you make your next move? We don't want to just be there to hear you vent, although we definitely do that. But the next step is really creating an action plan. And so, especially when it comes to the action plan and providing resources, having this conversation via text message really proves to be advantageous.
And is it the counselors who help you make that action plan during that
Yes.
evaluation?
Yeah,
Okay.
and our peer counselors go through a pretty robust training around crisis management and how to thoughtfully ask questions with empathy, problem solving, and they're really trained to not just blurt out advice right away, but to really ask questions to get the help seeker to be able to come to those conclusions themselves.
Great, great. Next question, and is it a real person or AI who answers the text line?
That is an excellent question. And I'm sure everyone is inundated with AI everything these days. As the help seeker, whose quote you read or quote I read in the presentation mentioned, in this age of AI everything, it was really refreshing to speak to a real human. Our counselors are 100% real humans. We find that to be really our special sauce. AI can provide lots of help here and there, and we certainly use AI as a San Francisco-based tech nonprofit, but not to interact with our help users. How we use AI is really to help summarize some of existing conversations so that when the next shift of volunteers come, they can seamlessly continue, or to help with our resources and the things that we help provide. But never is it a bot who is interacting with our help users. In fact, several of the people who reach out to our helpline, that will be one of their first questions to us is, am I speaking to a bot? And we'll say, no, this is a real person on the other line.
Understandably so. It's sometimes when you just like, I need a human, I need a person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, that's great to know. And I think you kind of touched on this previously. But what kind of trainings do the counselors receive?
Yeah. Um, so the counselors receive about 30 hours of training. They go through training modules, they go through live trainings. We use different systems to track our conversations. And I have actually gone through the training myself. It's sort of a requirement for EmpowerWorks staff members to go through the volunteer training. And it's wonderful, honestly. It helps, as I mentioned, how to thoughtfully ask questions to get the people who you're speaking to sort of come to moments of clarity on their own. And also to be able to get them to share as much as possible in a really safe and healthy way. So it's a combination of active listening, as I mentioned, problem solving, crisis management, how to approach um, uh, question asking in a really empathetic way. And people have actually um, uh, brought our training into their organizations or their companies simply because it helps create skill sets that are easily transferable in any sort of profession. So I felt like even if I wasn't an EmpowerWorks staff member, I would recommend going through the training itself because I just feel like it makes you a better manager. It helped me be better about my communication and relationship management with my husband, my 7-year-old son. And I just feel like it's something that really emphasizes how powerful human listening can be.
Okay, great. That was awesome. I think that was the last question. But that was a great presentation. Again, I thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Are there any last thoughts or final calls that you have to the audience and to the community that you want to leave them with?
Yeah, if there aren't any additional questions, I just want to emphasize that again, we are a nonprofit. We have ads on subway stations in Atlanta, buses in San Francisco, Philadelphia. We're just out there as an additional resource. we're living through a really difficult economic time period, political time period, and we just believe that nobody should feel stuck or alone. We know that virtually everyone will go through some sort of difficult work situation, whether they're trying to find a job, whether they're feeling overwhelmed, whether they're dealing with, tough relationships, coworkers, bosses at work. Um, and we just want to make sure that everybody knows that there is an outlet. There is another human, though you may not see their face or be able to hear their voice, there are humans who want to hear what you're going through and want to help you help navigate it. So I hope that you're able to share our resource with your communities. And we hope that we can have more of a presence in the Austin neighborhood of Chicago, and that more people will reach out to our helpline.
Great, great. I definitely hope the audience was able to take something good away from this. This is a resource that obviously affects us all, right? It impacts us all on a day-to-day basis. So if you do, those who express being connected to Empower, we will definitely be reaching out to you. Those of you who will view this after the presentation, after it's up, and you want to get connected, please don't hesitate to reach out to the hub and make sure we can get you connected to Empower as well that way. Also, before we get out of here, don't forget to subscribe to the hub's newsletter when you want to be updated on everything community going on. We got those exclusives right there. And then stay tuned for the next event, legal aid event. And that will be Thursday, November 6th at 10 a.m. or at 5 p.m. Go ahead and scan the QR code as well. And again, a special thank you to Anna again for coming out and sharing the great resources that they have. And I think that is all. Until next time, see you all later. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.